Yeah. Surprise, a little different than you're used to. Yeah. Dropping these bars on YouTube, knowledge I introduce you. Yeah. We chasing this money like it's the prize, it's the voodoo. Fugazi, fugazi, it's just a lie we buying into. We need some cars on deck. Get the rollies, get the Moe, all the Mars on deck.
Yes. Hello, welcome. All right, so you've seen the thumbnail. We're going to talk a little bit about savings accounts today. And there are some savings accounts that are going to be inflation, believe it or not. I'm going to give a little bit of context around this and show you the accounts that I'm talking about, but also maybe give you a few things to watch out for in accounts on the high street right now, because this will probably be the first time in over a decade, where savers are going to be able to get their cash working as hard as they possibly can for them and essentially beat inflation. So look, there's a lot of context here. We're going to start there first. But before we dive in, thank you so much for joining me. If you do get value from this video, please take a second to consider just tapping the like button. It just means that other people who may be searching answers to this question of how can I beat inflation with my savings will also get recommended this video after this live stream is over. And it also goes a long way to actually growing the channel as well. We're just over 42,000 right now. We're quickly moving towards 42,100. So if you haven't subscribed either, please consider subscribing as well, especially if you get value from this live stream. So let me just fix something really quickly. I'm not too happy with what I've got right now. That's a little bit better, I think. Yep. Okay, that's a little bit better. All right. Okay. So context, first and foremost. Context is really important. And to do that, what I want to do is I'm just going to show you something we've spoken about quite a bit on for at least 3-4 months since the beginning of this year, to be fair, but we've spoken about it yesterday across 2 live streams, and we spoke about it as well the day before on the live stream as well. And what I want you to pay attention to here are the inflation numbers. Now, I know that I've covered this before. It might be boring for a lot of people, but there's a reason why I'm showing this to you, and it's going to be really important for you to understand this when you're trying to select a savings account moving forward. Now, we've spoken about the fact that, yes, the Bank of England put up the base rate yesterday. Therefore, we are going to see some savings accounts also creep up in rates as well. We also yesterday spoke about the fact that the FCA are now putting the banks under pressure to ensure that they're passing on the interest rate hikes to their customers in savings accounts, right? We talked about the fact that there's 250 billion quid across the 9 largest providers in this country. So it's the Barclays, HSBCs, so on and so forth of this world, right? And we also talked about the fact that really we need more competition in this space. Now, the interest rate is here, okay? 5.25%. We've already established that we are likely going to see another interest rate rise in September and probably one thereafter, taking the base rate to 5.75%. Now, when this happens, we're also going to see interest rates move as well, importantly. Now, where does the inflation beating part of this conversation come in? For that, we need to have a look at the inflation rates. We're currently here 7.9. As of Q3, we're expecting this to be at 5.8, Q4 3.9, Q1 2.7. Now, even if you just pay attention to the next quarter, so the quarter that we are pretty much in right now or about to enter in Q3, the target really is any account that is giving you right now in this present time, anything over 5.8% is going to beat inflation. By the time we get to the back end of the year, Q4, anything above about 4% is going to give you an advantage over inflation. Now, this may be a little convoluted, and this may be people may accuse me of being, well, this isn't a direct win, but actually this is based on where we think inflation is going to go moving forward. And yes, I've said it yesterday and I'll say it again here. It may not go according to this plan. But general rule of thumb, based on the information we have right now, there are certain accounts that are out on the market right now that in Q3 will beat inflation. And this will be the first time in over a decade to do that. If everything goes to plan, by the time you get to Q4, everyone who has a savings account should now be in a position where their money's working beautifully for them, and they are actively beating inflation without too many issues. So that's the barometer. That's what you need to understand in terms of if you're looking around for a savings account right now, and there are different types of savings account. We'll talk about that in a moment. This is what you should be looking at. So Q3 5.8, the inflation number is what the target is going to be. And then from Q4, anything above 4% is going to be giving you a positive return. Now, let me just come full screen quickly. Obviously, there are different types of savings accounts, right? So you've got instant access savings accounts, you've got notice accounts. So instant access are exactly what they are. They're also called easy access accounts, right? They're exactly what they are. You don't need to give any notice. You can withdraw your money any given time. Typically, easy access or instant access accounts will generally have the lowest rates on the high street because they just do. Above that, you then have your notice accounts. That's where you need to give 30 days, 60 days, maybe even 90 days, maybe even 120 days worth of notice to access your money. Because you have to give that notice period, you get a better rate than you would do if you were in an easy access or an instant access account. Beyond that, you then have fixed rate accounts. Now, I've been a little specific when I talk to people about fixed rate accounts, purely because you're fixing in for a term. But when we start looking at the different accounts that are available right now, those are some of the most attractive rates that are out there. Why? Because you're locking in for probably 1-2 years. Now, I've been saying probably you want to lock in for 12 months in opposed to 2 years, because to be honest, with all of the accounts that I've looked at, the difference between a 1-year fixed rate and a 2-year fixed rate is so small that why lock it up for the additional 12 months on top of that? It doesn't make any sense, particularly as we were in the middle of interest rate rises. Slightly different now that we feel it seems as though we're approaching the end of the interest rate hikes. We've only probably got about 2 according to the forecast. So now it might make sense to look at a 2-year if the margin is good enough, right? So if, for example, you're looking at a 1-year fixed rate of 5%, and you have a two-year fixed rate of 5.1%, you might think, so that 0.1% difference, it's not even worth it. However, if you're getting a 0.5% difference, so 1 year at 5%, 2 year at 5.5, you might think actually for an additional 0.5%, it's worthwhile putting that money in for the 2-year period. But generally speaking, I've just been saying to people, go with a 1 year, because at least after 1 year, you know exactly what your return is going to be. Now, I've got so many tabs open up here. Let's have a look at some of the best rates that are out here at this present time. And for this, I'm actually going to use one of my friends' website, Andy Webb, who is also on YouTube. His account is Be Clever With Your Cash. He's an amazing guy. He's really, really good. This is his website, and this is his sourcing right here. So these are, easy access accounts. Now, someone on the live yesterday did mention that there was a 4.6% account that they were disappointed with, and I did say on the stream, I said, well, if it's an instant access account, that's pretty good. And as you can see here, we do have we have one here from Shawbrook at 4.63%. And I think we kind of need a little bit of a dose of reality here. The base rate is 5.25%. This is an easy access at 4.63%. That's an amazing offer. It's an epic offer for an easy access, instant access account. It's really, really good. You also have the Loughborough Building Society here, which has got a 4.6% interest rate here. Then you've got Barclays, which is a current account, which is their rainy day saver. This is a 5.12% account here. Now, this 7% one here, please just bear in mind, this is a regular saver. So regular savers work slightly different to just general accounts where you can put in a chunk of money. With a regular saver, you're not likely to do that. You will have a monthly maximum that you can put in, therefore a yearly maximum that you can put in over the 12-month period, 12 months in a year, and your interest is calculated upon your deposits. So, and it's worthwhile understanding how the interest payments also work. So for the first payment that you put into your regular saver, that's obviously going to be in for the full 12 months. That's going to get the full 7%. By the time you get halfway through the year and you've made your sixth deposit of maybe £200 or whatever, it's only going to be in the account for 6 months. So you're only getting about a proportion of the 7% that they offer you. I did a video, I kind of worked out the calculations to see what the difference is. And sometimes it is a few £100 here and there. So it is worthwhile noting that. The reason why I say this is because in your selection criteria, don't always look for the highest rate. You need to understand why they're offering the highest rate. So in this instance, it's because it's a regular saver, right? And you will be capped on how much you can pay into this account over a 12-month period. So if you have a lump sum that you want to put in, this isn't going to be the right account for you. And it may be the case with this rainy day saver. I haven't actually checked this just yet as well, but look at the detail specifically. All right. So, like we said here, the target for inflation. Let me just go back and check this. In Q3 is 5.8%. So, if we were to kind of take a stab at things right now, when you start getting into the 12-month fix here, 6.06%, that is inflation beaten. But with this, you're locking it in for 12 months, and there will be minimums and maximums you can pay in. For this one, actually, I don't know what the maximums are because I haven't checked it just yet. But you would probably see a limit of most of these accounts, 100,000, 200,000, something like that. So it doesn't matter if you have 20 grand, 10 grand sat around. You will be able to put your money into this account, and you will be able to get 6.06%. But you're locked in for 12 months. Really, really important. And this is what I was saying between the difference of a 12-month fixed rate and a 24-month fixed rate. So this is a 1 year, this is a 2 year, right? But look at the difference. For 0.02%, is it really worthwhile locking your money in for 24 months? In some cases, it might be. In other cases, people may think, actually, I'm not going to bother, maybe not. Now, the danger that you have with these type of accounts, because they are fixed, is, well, if we are correct in our forecasts over here around the fact that we are going to see another 2 interest rate rises before the end of the year, possibly one in September, then maybe one in October, maybe one in November, depending on what happens with inflation, then that would lead me to believe that fixed rates, as we're seeing here, may also go up as well. And that's the danger that you're going to have with any of these accounts, particularly a fixed rate one. If you lock in at 6.06%, if the bank rate goes up again and savings rates move again, this is what you're stuck with. You don't have any ability to renegotiate to exit. You won't be able to exit this even with penalties, more than likely. So you need to be 100% sure. But the point of this video is that these types of accounts will help you beat inflation. This is a clear winner, even based on the fact that, the current Bank of England, if you look at inflation specifically, right, it doesn't currently meet or match the current rate of inflation at 7.9. But if everything does go to plan and inflation in Q3 comes down to 5.8, this is a clear winner. If inflation then, comes down again in Q4, this is a clear winner. So we're getting your criteria when you're trying to select these accounts. What you're looking at is you're looking at the targets of 5.8 and 3.9%, because at least then you will know for sure that you're going to be onto a winner to help you maximize your savings and to get it working as hard as possible for you, and be in a position where actually the erosion that you get with inflation no longer counts. And it's nice to be in this situation where we can talk about this from a positive point of view, because I feel like over the last 6 months since we've been talking about inflation, it's just been bad news the entire way. It's been mortgage rates have gone up. Mortgages are costing more money. Renters are suffering. Energy prices are still pretty high. It's been pretty horrible. It's been pretty negative. So this is some form of positive that we can talk about now with where we are in this cycle at this point in time. There is a lot of positive momentum around inflation. And look, let's be realistic. We are still very much operating at, a rate where interest rates, inflation is still increasing much, much higher than previous rates in the past. There is no getting away from that. But it feels as though we are on the right direction to try and level that playing field slightly. I'm still slightly disappointed that they didn't increase the base rate by 0.5% to try and pull that target for 2% from Q1 or Q2 2024, maybe to Q1, and wishful thinking even Q4 this year. But it feels like we're on the right path right now. And if we are at the end of this interest rate hike, we can start to look forward a little bit, maybe with a little bit of optimism, at least for savers, around placement of cash in the right type of accounts to be able to maximize the position that you find yourself in. A lot of people will still be in a position of maybe waiting just to see what happens, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you prefer to wait, see what happens, and try and make an informed decision, maybe later on in the year, wait out, see what happens with the Q3 numbers of inflation and Q4 numbers. If it doesn't go to plan, I did talk about this yesterday, then what we'll find ourselves is in a position where the Bank of England has to push interest rates even further. And that will be good for savers. That will potentially get us in a position where you're going to outstrip inflation, but you're going to have that counterbalance of rates have gone up, rents have gone up, mortgages have gone up, and whether or not the bit that you will get in savings because of the interest rate hikes will help you close the gap between your additional cost. That's pretty unlikely unless you have quite large sums of money in a savings account. So that's where we are right now, and I just wanted to show you this because I think it is a positive conversation. Let me know what you think. I'm just going to have a look at the comment section really quickly, see what you guys are saying. MB, what's going on? How you doing? Rogue 2079, good evening. MB saying, save me money. Hopefully you found this useful, mate. I hope that you have. But I think it's really important. You can start to look at savings accounts now with maybe a little bit of a pragmatic and optimistic eye, and opposed to it all being doom and gloom. Someone's saying here, rates for savers, which banks without fixing for 1 year. Well, some of the ones that I've showed you on here, the 4.63 one, that will beat inflation, but it will start to beat inflation in Q4 this year. But 4.63 from Shawbrook is pretty good. I mean, for an instant access account, that's pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. I'm really not going to lie. I think Chip will up their rates soon to get into the league table. Yes, I mean, I did do a video with them. I did a partnership with them earlier this year. And the reason why I chose to kind of work with them was because they are typically really, really quick. The minute the rate hike happens, they act within 1, 2, 3, 4, really, really quick. 2 or 3 days roughly to pass that on, and that's something that they wanted to do with the Chip account. This is the list that I found today. I'll keep monitoring it, and as we get an update, I might update this video as well moving forward. But it's nice to see that there are some new incumbents into the markets really trying to do something different. The 9 largest banks definitely need to pull their fingers out, and that's why the whole thing with the FCA is happening right now in terms of their 14-point action plan, is to get those guys to move. Because if they hold $250 billion of deposits and they have a gentleman's agreement, they get into cahoots to, not raise the interest rates but above a certain amount, what they're effectively doing is they're guaranteeing that the money isn't going to move necessarily unless one of the smaller new incumbents kind of offers something really, really advantageous. And people hear about it. The thing is, right, if I let me just have a look at something else here, because I'm sure the Shawbook account, and this is another thing we spoke about yesterday, was that, and let me just show you this actually. Let's have a look at Money Supermarket. There's a little bit more information on this. Let me just come out of that, Amit, 1 sec. And let me just go here. If we look at the Shawbook one, we spoke yesterday about the fact that, new incumbents are generally tech-led. And that's good if you're my age or younger, or you're really okay with, doing things on your phone and you don't need to go into a branch. You're not accustomed to that culture, right? This is an online account. Right, so you can put 85k into this. Is the maximum you can put into this, but it's an online account. So if you've got, parents, grandma, grandparents, that kind of stuff, they're not really going to be attracted to this at all. And a large sum of that 250 billion that is held by the 9 biggest providers in the UK, I would argue, it belongs to much elderly people who still cherish that ability to go into a branch, even though that's becoming more and more less likely with the way things are going right now. But that shift to online for a lot of people is going to be very, very difficult. And so, we talk about awareness and awareness being a really good thing here. It's really important. Cahoots do have a 4.6% one here. Saffron Building Society have a 4.6%. Beehive have 4.6%. So look, there's lots of accounts with a 4.6%, rate being offered. And these are all easy access accounts when you go on the Money Supermarket right here. So there are lots of accounts right now that are available. I just want to have a look. What does he have on his notice accounts? Because we did mention notice accounts. So here we go on notice accounts, right? So bearing in mind, what was it in Q3? Q3, 5.8 is the target. You've got here DF Capital 5.35%. Although that is a 120-day notice account, you've got 5.3 for a 90-day notice account. So that's 4 months and 3 months. You need to be able to plan properly for this. And when I say that, what I mean is, don't just go and open that kind of account and smash all of your money into it without thinking about, right, what if something happens? I generally think it's worthwhile people holding a little bit of cash back just in case an emergency happens, so they don't have to then go and breach that account. Because what will happen is at 5.35% for a 120-day notice account, if you needed to draw that money out without giving the notice, you'll lose interest. And that's the penalty that you'll pay. So being a little bit, I guess, practical, right, in your thinking around, right, how much should I allocate to this type of account is going to be really, really important. Like, if you've got 10 grand, okay, maybe we put 8 in and we hold back 2, or whatever proportion you might decide it's in. It's a worthy consideration, because the last thing you want is to be able to put it into an account like that, where you have to access the money, break the notice, and then you're losing interest, because that would kind of defeat the point, right? But let's have a look at some other ones on here. There's Old Shelton, 5.5%. That's a 120-day account, maximum 180. This one's 250. Dudley Building Society 5.45, 120 days, 5.35 for 90s. 6 a day, 4.9%. That's not bad actually for 6 a day. 6 a day, that's not bad. 4.9%. And then fixed term accounts, again, 1 year, 2 year. I mean, look at this. Secure Trust Bank, 5.5%. It's not as attractive as the 6 plus that we saw previously, but it's still pretty good though. Monument 5.5, 5.64, 5.55, 5.54. These are inflation beating. Certainly when we come to Q4 this year, if everything goes according to plan. But anyway, look, I hope that you found this useful. Let me just get back to your comments. Where are we? Let's go here. I was at Amit's prior to coming off here. So Darren, what's Darren saying here? Would you recommend waiting until Bank of England base rates have peaked and then look to put your money away in a fixed? Potentially, yes, mate. I mean, there's nothing wrong with waiting, particularly because we waited this long, right, to get to the point where we've got decent interest rates available. So for those people who can afford to wait, yeah, there's nothing wrong with waiting at all, just to see what actually happens, particularly when it comes to the inflation, because a lot of this is predicated on the forecast for inflation being correct. If it isn't, and inflation doesn't fall as sharply as it does, it just means it's going to take longer for us to get into a position where these accounts will be inflation. But by all accounts, by Q4, they are going to be in the positive territory in that inflation equation. So nothing wrong with waiting, mate. Nothing wrong with waiting if you can afford to. Richard, how you doing? The Bank of England has got all of its predictions wrong for the past couple of years. Probably wiser to ignore those targets and predictions. But that's the whole point of having a prediction, mate. It's a forecast. That's what they hope to happen. And what other bases do you work from? And bearing in mind there are so many moving parts with this, it gives you an expectation of where to plan from. And having a semblance of a plan is better than having no plan at all, and being able to make some decisions based on, right, we think this is what is going to happen, because that's the best that we can do. None of us have crystal balls. If I could, shows my age here, if I could jump into DeLorean, right, and just go straight to the future 3-4 years into the future and tell you exactly what happens, I would, but we don't. So what we try to do is we try to make the best decision based on what we know right now, and that's the whole purpose of a forecast or predictions. It's so that we can have the best chance of making the best decision in the moment. Because if we try and look too far ahead, we don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes this is what I found with people is because they're so fixated on what could happen in the future, they pause now and do nothing. And I would argue that's more dangerous than actually making a semi-informed, if you want to even label it that, semi-informed decision based on some data, based on some predictions, based on forecasts, based on what's going on right now. I think that that's a better position to be in, but that's just me coming at it from working with people in the financial services space for some time and seeing how people often get it's the analysis paralysis. They can't make a decision because they don't know what to do because no one knows what's coming around the corner. I'm just saying I have a lump sum, but by the time I max out ISAs, I'll still have the personal savings allowance issue and breaching the limit, therefore tax dilemma. Yeah, it's horrible, mate. Look, if you've maxed out your ISAs and stuff, look, your personal savings allowance, mate, we've got to pay tax at the end of the day. It is difficult. I mean, premium bonds, maybe that may get you around it. So ISAs, premium bonds, using those wrappers, as opposed to holding some things in your savings account. The thing with the premium bonds, though, is what are the premium bonds today? I haven't checked, actually. Really good thing for us to do right now. NS&I. What is the rate right now on it on premium bonds? And bearing in mind, like when we say rate, we don't really mean rate because you don't get a return on premium bonds. What happens is you get entered into a draw based on the money that you have in, and the rate of return goes to fund those prize drawings. So it's not a direct guaranteed return that you would get in a normal savings account, but because they are tax free, they could be a good alternative that you might be able to use to help you navigate that whole tax position. What's the rate? I mean, this is the rate right now. Premium bonds 4%, and again that funds the prizes. So it could be something. I mean, I know people who do win on a regular basis there, and it's all tax free. And obviously, the winnings go back into getting you more entries into it. So it could be worthwhile, but it is tax free. That might be something for you, Amit. Not ideal, probably. And it also depends on how much you have because the max here is 50K. So if you've got more than that, you'd have to be a little bit creative around what other avenues you use. It depends on your circumstances, mate. There are options, but it depends on your circumstances. And it's hard to say, this might be the best for you without really knowing what your circumstances are. But maybe just a few things to think about there, mate. Right, let's see what everyone else is saying. Video quality. I'm looking at this right now, mate. It's weird because my internet connection is poor. I live in the countryside, so the internet connection here is it frustrates me, to say the least. Let's put it that way. I do have fiber coming into the house, but ever so often I'll get a very grainy feed when I'm live. But when I watch the video back, actually the quality is crisp. And I think what happens sometimes is the YouTube player does default to 720p. So what might be worthwhile is if you click the toggle, you can go up to 1080 because I'm streaming in 1080 right now. So maybe try that. That might help. Oh, Richard, mate, thank you so much for this reminder, by the way. I hear that smashing that like button helps the video quality. I'm sure. I love it. Well done. But if you haven't tapped the like button just yet, and you have had value from this, then please consider doing so. It just means that other people who might be searching the internet right now looking for this type of information and might find this information quite useful will also get recommended this video once the live stream has ended. The YouTube algorithm is really, really weird. It looks at watch time. And yes, a lot of you are on here and will watch this right through to the end. So that is a good indication. But what they really look for is, likes, comments. And if there are no likes and no comments, they just think, oh, the stream was rubbish. Nobody enjoyed it, and they don't recommend it. Whereas if they get that interaction, say, actually, people really liked it, people did comment on it, they push it out to more people. That's just how the algorithm works. If smashing the like button, it only takes a second, but it helps massively. And it doesn't just help me, it helps other people who may need this information too. Thanks for the reminder there, Richard. Common is saying Chase. Chase do have an account as well. I don't know why they're not in the top 10 here, because Chase Bank UK. Let's have a look. I'm sure there's about 5%, but I'm sure though, wasn't theirs? I know they've got a cashback offering, which was doing 5%, but I don't know what the savings account. Let's have a look at their saver account. 1 second. Yeah, so their saver account at the moment. Let me just share this. 1 sec. This is their saver account. Their saver account is only 3.8%, so it doesn't hit the top accounts right now. I think you do have, like I said, the current account, which I'm sure has it's 1% cashback. So what was the 5% one that I saw? I'm sure they had a 5% offering. Interesting. Maybe that only ran for a period of time. Oh yeah, here we go. Boost your money at 5% boost. Let's give me a little boost. Choose to round up your spending and will make the spare change go further with a 5% AER. Yes, it's not really the same thing. It's a mechanism within the account. So yeah, they don't feature in that because their easy access account is 3.8%. So yeah, it will be inflation beating, but it won't be inflation. Well, it will be inflation matching. No, it's actually not going to be inflation matching. It would be just under inflation if they hit the Q4 target for inflation at 3.9. So it doesn't necessarily fit the bill right now. And Jennifer's just saying, I'm worried about the tax on interest. Would you be able to give advice on how to avoid this? I can't give. I'm not an accountant, so you need an accountant for tax advice specifically. I can definitely share information and provide guidance. I can't advise. I can provide guidance on, based on your circumstances, what have you got? Are you being as tax efficient as possible? I can definitely do that, and I can do that in a coaching setting because that's something I do offer. But I can't give you specific advice. For tax advice, you need to really see an accountant because that's what an accountant's there for. They'll be able to give you ideas of, are there other allowances that you're not using, and they'll have a look at your entire circumstances. So yeah, I can do a little bit, but I can't do the advice stuff. I can definitely give you guidance on if you're using all of your tax wrappers, so on and so forth. Someone just saying here, I don't know, this will be in response to a previous question. I haven't caught the conversation quite nicely, but I think the sentiment here is right. Always try and fill up your ISA first, generally speaking. Always try and fill up your ISA first because £20,000 tax free, it's a no brainer. Which is saying if you're a high rate taxpayer, you could easily salary sacrifice to drop down a lower bracket, but that's a bit extreme. You can, and the reason why I didn't mention that is because I don't know whether it's fitting for you, because there are so many other considerations that go into the salary sacrifice conversation. Do you need the income? If you need the income for expenses, then it may not be the best thing for you. But if you don't need it, salary sacrificing can help you because it will drop you. It can potentially drop you into the lower brackets depending on where you are when you're earning, on your earnings and your PAYE. So it can be a massive help. But yeah, a lot of people, it definitely does a job at the top echelons of kind of like earnings. Once you're over that £100,000 mark, £125,000 mark, salary sacrifice does wonders because it can really help you reduce your tax liability. And yeah, it does help. But like I said, I don't know where you are and what your circumstances are. So it's really, really hard to say. I'm just saying here, grandparents prefer under the mattress. Hey, listen, for the last 10 years, I don't blame them at all because they would have got nothing in a bank. Oh, Jennifer, trust me. Listen, They've got to get you every way they can. They've got to get you every way they can. I agree with you 100%. To tax savings, like, come on, seriously. I mean, the personal savings allowance is pitiful these days. Like, and if you're, additional rate taxpayer, you get nothing, which many people say rightly so, right? But tax and savings, yeah, I mean, they should definitely. I believe that there should be a wealth tax, on assets, on investments, that kind of stuff. And yeah, they do obviously have capital gains and dividends and all this kind of stuff, but and they've decimated a lot of those now. But there should be a wealth tax specifically. I think the government will rake in more. Mm, I read a paper once that actually said that you know there is a disparity in the understanding of how much tax is paid at the top end and how much tax is paid at the lower end of society. And there is a huge contribution from the wealthy. You can't dispute that. I think the question it has always been and will remain to be until it's addressed, are they paying enough considering where society is right now? And can they pay more? Can you introduce wealth tax in a clever way that allows them to still feel as though, and they're not going to feel as though they're getting value, but can you sell it to them to feel as though they're getting value in some way, shape, or form, whilst raising more uh, tax for society to be able to thrive? Like I said yesterday, I'm a pessimist, so uh, I don't think the boys in office have the guts to do that. Really, do you? Let me know in the comments. I really don't think they do. I'm just having a look through the comments right here. Oh, Matt's just saying here that he won £150 last month with 25,000 in premium bonds. This month, zero. It's pot luck, but any winnings are tax free. You could get lucky. That's very, very true. I know people have won like 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a year, and varying amounts as well, because the prize draw amount is different as well. And when you tally that up, for some people, it's actually quite decent. But like you say there, live in the countryside. This is a new trend with our generation. People are writing London off. Listen, man, where I live right now, I mean, I'm in Shropshire, so it's a little quiet. It's very, very different from London, but there are more people that look like me in the town, and that it's nice to see because, yeah, I remember living in towns where I'm the only person who looks like this, and I'm like, okay, this is not that it's weird, but it's like you become aware of it because you just become aware of it. It's like when I worked in corporate, right? I would go to conferences and it would just be full of people, and I would be the only person who looks like me. And whenever I see someone who looks like me, I'm like, okay. We have this weird thing where we acknowledge each other in a room, right? We were in Greece over the weekend, right? And every time I saw someone like me, we do the nod. It's just that general acknowledgement. And it's nice to be able to have that in a community. It's not that you know each other really, really well. Look, you'll know what I'm saying. If you know, you know about the nod. You just that quick acknowledgement, seeing another person on the road. It's like, is that nod? The nod says it all. The nod says it all. All right, okay. I'm down at the bottom of the yes, let me just address this. I have emailed you back, mate. I've emailed you back this morning. So let me know whether you've got the email. If not, I will email you again. I've given you instructions what to do, and I've also asked your nephew's name as well. If you can pick it up, I will get the book signed and out to you this weekend. So I have got the email, mate. I did respond this morning. Thank you for reaching out. I really and listen, your email was really, really nice, like really, really nice. And receiving those type of emails kind of reinforce why I started doing this in the first place. Like sometimes, just sometimes, I do feel like I want to quit. Like it's really, really stressful, and it's a lot of hard work. And sometimes things don't always go according to plan. And yeah, when I compare my channel with other channels that started either before or after me, my channel hasn't grown as much, but I also understand that my content style is different. I've been lucky enough to go off and do other things as well. The greedy person in me, the really competitive side of me, being Pete, wants to have it all. Wants to have done the TV work and done the book and have the subscriber count at 150,000 right now. But the reality is that's just not how it panned out based on the way I've tried to position this account. It's not a hype account. It's not here to, sell shovels in, golden shovels to people trying to dig for gold. It's not about that. It's about level-headed conversations to educate and to inspire and to inform. And that doesn't necessarily do well with the algorithm. I get that. But your email really reinforced the reason why I do what I do, and why this channel is around. And when I receive emails like that, mate, it's yeah, it really makes my day, because it just gives me that acknowledgement that even though it is tough, and even though it is very difficult and frustrating and so stressful, and in the moments where I feel like I want to give up and just jack it all in, and I could go back to a corporate job and not work 14 hours a day, those kind of emails kind of give me the reminder as to the impact that we have, and the fact that people do find this channel really, really useful. So thank you for that. You're just saying you didn't want to go on and on. I got the email, legend. Thank you, good man. So yeah, look, get back to me, and I will literally get the book signed and out to you over the weekend. And look, if anybody watches this on maybe replay, if you're watching this right now, you're part of the 63 who are still here. My book is called The Money Basics: How to Become Your Own Financial Hero. And it is a money book, but it's not just a money book. I bring a lot of my experience, having worked with clients as a financial advisor, and a lot of my own experience going from sleeping on the streets, getting into really, really bad debt, struggling with that, and finally turning it around. So I tell a lot of my story in the book as well. The book is all about practical application. So there is a big exercise at the very, very beginning that I love you to complete, that is integral for you to complete. And then there are all practical tips all the way through the book. So if you would like a copy signed by myself, and I will send it out to you, literally drop me a message on Instagram or email me at hello@peterkomalafe.com, and I will gladly get a signed copy out to you in the post if you would like one. But yeah, thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. Someone's asking here, where in Shropshire am I? I'm literally by Shrewsbury. So I'm on the Welsh border pretty much. And during the summer, me and the boys will tend to take a really nice drive out to the Welsh hills and get into the countryside. It's really, really nice. And some of those roads are amazing, like beautiful, beautiful. I love the summer here. But it is very, very quiet, very, very sleepy. Bet me 1 second. I'm just having a look at this comment. Yeah, you know what though? I think you're referring to Nisha. So this is the thing, right? People will say they're an accountant, then the next minute they're an investment banker. Which one are you? Like, which one are you? An investment banker, or you're an accountant, or are you both? Like, which one is it? But I think, I've watched a couple of her videos and stuff like that. This is what happens on YouTube, and I don't necessarily play this game. So on YouTube, what you generally do is you go with the hot topics of the moment. And then what you try and do is you try and make it as, I wouldn't say clickbaity is the wrong word to use. You try and make it as attractive as possible for people to click the thumbnail to watch. And so with the YouTube algorithm, if you're able to nail the topic, you're able to nail a really clickbaity thumbnail, you get people to watch. The rate at which people click sends the YouTube algorithm a signal that people are clicking on this video, so they probably like it, and the YouTube algorithm pushes it out even more. And within the formats of typical YouTube videos, what you do is you format it to maybe 8-15 minutes, and you keep it really fast paced, and maybe say a few things that might rile a few people up and get the conversation going in the comments. I've never really tried to play to that formula, and I should have done, but that's not what I'm about, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about is about the nuance, the information, and I don't want to dress that up to be this. And maybe I should. I don't know. It's just not me. So I've not really played the game. I think people like Nisha and people like that, they have played the game, and they really go to that strict formula. I don't have a formula. I mean, live streams are terrible. Like, from AdSense point of view, live streams are not good at all. I would make more money on YouTube if I just had 8 minutes short punchy videos with a few hyperbolic sentences and be like, oh, this is one, this, keep it really, really short. But the channel originally was called Conversation of Money because I wanted to have a conversation with people. And that's still very, very true to the core of what we're doing here. We can have a conversation. Yeah, I speak at the camera a lot of the time, but you in the comments. We have a conversation through the comments. This is my formula. It may not work in the larger YouTube algorithm, but I do believe that, the community of people that follow and watch religiously on this channel, I would argue have better know-how than someone who maybe watches Nisha's or whoever's video for 8-10 minutes. Yeah, they might take a few little nuggets right here, but they'll find that actually what they got isn't quite enough. They need a little bit more context and they go down a rabbit hole. Whereas I like to think that when you come here, you watch a video, you get a pretty good sense of what you need to know because the context is there and the nuance is there. Or at least that's what I would like to think. And that's the feedback that I get anyway. But it is what it is. I try not to compare myself because comparing yourself to someone else it kills all joy, right? And my journey has been very, very different to Nisha's. I've been very, very lucky to do the things that I've done. And now I have TV shows contacting me directly. If I thought about the plan for this in 2020 when this all started, TV was a big part of that to become an authority. And that's what I have been able to do. Yet maybe at the detriment of YouTube growth, but from a brand point of view and from a position of authority and I guess consistency of brand and message, I would like to think that I've won on that 100%. I haven't talked about stock picking and 10x your money here in crypto and 10x your money there and become a millionaire, this and all this kind of stuff. That hasn't been my message for the last 3 years, and it never will be. It's all about understanding the principles that you need and putting those habits into place for your benefit in the long run, not the short term. So I'm just looking here. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Joshua's just saying here, we could get signed copies. I already bought mine and one each for all my fam from Amazon. Cheers, dude. Thank you very much. This is one of the things. So it's difficult because I don't know where everyone is, but I say to people that if you ever hear that I'm in London for anything at all, because London is where I think a lot of people are based, I will happily sign copies already in London for people. And I've done a few book signings here and there, and people are like, you should do like a tour, but it's difficult to organize. It really, really is. But thank you, mate. The fact that you've already bought the book and you bought a few more copies as well for family and friends is amazing. Thank you. Marlon, just had my firstborn. What's the best stock platform to open a junior account? Vanguard. Does Vanguard have a junior ISA? I don't think Vanguard has a junior ISA. Who has a junior ISA? Let me have a look quickly. 1 second. It just took the or ISA. 1 second. Junior ISA. Hargreaves Lansdown has a junior ISA, but you need to know what you're picking because it's like a supermarket, right? So if you know what you're picking, then Hargreaves Lansdown has a junior ISA. I'm pretty sure Vanguard doesn't have one. Apparently, there's a junior ISA with an NSI premium bonds as well. So maybe, but again, that won't be an investment though. No, it won't be an investment. It'll be a cash junior ISA. So if you're looking at an investment, Hargreaves Lansdown will probably be a good place for you to start. Because I can't think of anyone else that has actually got one apart from Hargreaves Lansdown. Nothing comes to mind at this point in time. I did do a video a couple of years back on junior ISA specifically, so it might be worthwhile checking that one out. And I think it's if you type in junior ISA, the video will come up. But yeah, congratulations as well, mate. Congratulations. Christopher is asking here, how do you approach your asset allocation decisions? Stocks, bonds, commodities, cash, etc. ETFs versus index funds, developed versus emerging market equities. Right. Okay. Really good question. We can get into the weeds on this, but let's try and keep it simple. So the whole point of asset allocation is it should generally be tied to a risk profile. Yeah. So if you have someone who's really is pretty adventurous, Obviously, there's going to be more of an equity weighting or stocks weighting in comparison to things like, your bonds, your commodities, your cash. So it needs to be tied to that in some way, shape, or form. The issue that you have with ETFs, index funds, and a lot of these equity based offerings, which index funds and ETFs typically are, is you don't necessarily get the bond, commodities, cash as part of the overall thing. You've got to tailor it yourself. So the key things that we used to work on as financial advisors working with clients is understanding, number one, what the goal is. What's the goal? Are you looking to generate income, to generate wealth over a period of time? If that is the case, over what period of time? Because investing over 5 years and 10 years, 15 years, 20 years is very, very different. So the longer you have, the more risk you can afford to take, i.e., more in stocks. Whereas if you're investing for a very short period of time, then you need to be including things like your bonds and your commodities in there to help you wait out that equity risk. And if you're not doing that, you're taking way too much risk. So it needs to be tied to some kind of risk profile for you to at least have a starting point to begin with, because if you don't have that, you're just shooting in the dark. So you need to have it tagged onto a risk profile, and what tags onto the risk profile is what you're investing for and how long you have to invest. I talk about all of this in my investment course for beginners. It goes through all of the basic fundamental strategies. I've taken it off. I've just revamped my website, and it's not on there at the moment. But if that's of interest, just message me and I can send you a link or something. But that's generally how you approach the whole asset allocation decision in a nutshell. Look, now you guys are just trying to stroke my ego, okay? I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for. I like your interactive style anyway. Look. I enjoy doing this more so than shooting videos to edit and film. It's so stressful. It is so stressful. I think I'm best having conversations, explaining things like this, where I can just be me. And ironically, the whole TV thing came along because people in TV were tuning into the live Q and A's we were doing on a Sunday evening through 2021. It's mad, you know. They weren't watching the videos thinking he'll be good. They were tuning into the live Q and A's, and so it- looking back over the arc of the channel, I feel like this is where I enjoy this the most. I feel like this is where I'm best because I can really show that I kind of know what I'm talking about. I'm not researching something and reading something of ChatGPT and then regurgitating a load of hogwash. No, I have experience in stuff, so I can think on my feet. I can explain things in more depth than maybe a lot of these YouTubers can. And so, I enjoy this. Thank you. Oh, listen, this is I like this. This is brilliant. And again, this is down to you and dedication, mate. I don't necessarily watch a lot of TV. I don't have time to. But, the fact that you're paying time into improving your own financial understanding, your financial knowledge, that's going to pay dividends more so than if you watch all the series of The Walking Dead. Yeah, you're going to be entertained, but what do you take from it? It's a nice story, but it hasn't enriched you. It hasn't, improved your skills in any way, shape, or form. So, but that says a lot about you, mate. So thank you. Uh, Amit, are you talking with Vanguard for Junior ISA? I wasn't aware they had one. Maybe they do. If they do, fantastic. Ah, there we go. Someone's just saying here that they do. That Vanguard do have a Junior ISA. Good man. Perfect. Thank you, Juliet. Aaron's just saying here, hi Pete. When do you see savings rates? Where do you see savings rates at the beginning of 2024 and going forwards for the year? Mate, I don't know. I think there's probably only a little bit more for interest rates to rise based on the curve that we're seeing at this point in time. So I think we've probably got another 0.5% to go on interest rate hikes. Whether it's not a case of whether, it is highly unlikely that you're going to see the full 0.5% passed on to savers. Very, very unlikely. But there'll be a portion of that that will. So in 2024, if you are able to get, an instant access account that offers you 5%, take someone's hand off for that 100%. If you can get fixed rate accounts or fixed term accounts that give you anything over 6, I mean, we've already got one here that we spoke about here on the channel, right? Take that arm off for that. Notice accounts that are in the region of, you know, that 5.5%, take the hand off for that. Hopefully the rates will get to that point. But the danger that you're also going to have is if the bank rate then comes down, the danger is that saving rates will also be reduced as well. So that's the converse of all of this. Because we don't know what's going to happen, I think it's really, really important to take advantage of what's here right now, as opposed to maybe just seeing what happens, because the bank rate will come down at some point. It's not going to be a drop like we've seen the increase be parabolic. It's not going to be that. It will be a very slow, steady decline in the Bank of England base rate. And with that, savings will also come down. But the crucial thing is, if you have inflation at 2%, and even if interest rates on savings accounts were to drop to 3 to 4%, you're still beating inflation. And that's better than where we've been for savers for the last decade and a half. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from here, mate. But I think the message for today is try and take advantage of what we have right now. These accounts will help you beat inflation in the next 6 months or so. We've not been here for a very long time. So look, make hay while the sun shines, I guess, is the message. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. We got 42 likes. I appreciate every single one of you. Again, if you're new to the channel, you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. We're trying to get to 42,100. We might be able to do that in the next week and a half or so, but if we can do it a little bit quicker than that, that will be absolutely amazing. But thank you so much for joining me. I will see you. What's today? Today is Friday, so it's Saturday tomorrow. There will be no live stream tomorrow, but there will probably be a finance clinic on Sunday evening. I will post about that a bit later on over the weekend. So if you've not done the notification bell, click on that, because you'll get notified when I actually schedule that live stream. But you can come along, ask questions. We can have another interaction on Sunday evening. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, surprise, a little different than you used to. Yeah. Dropping these bars on YouTube, knowledge I introduce you. Yeah. We chasing this money like it's the prize, it's the voodoo. Fugazi, fugazi, it's just a lie we buying into. We need some cars on deck. Get the rollies, get the Moe, all the Mars on deck. We got the traders, got the picture with the Bentley in Dubai. Are you dripping in designer, looking fly? On the bombardier, sipping on the wine. Broke man, we broke. Where's the fun in being broke? Stocks and bonds get you yo. That's what I'm teaching these folks. I see that smoke, see them choke. Getting coke. While I'm researching these stocks, buying coke. 20 months on the channel, million people taking note. I got a warrant for Buffet. I'm coming for his folks.